Hey, so what I want to show today is a tool I built to help solution architects build their diagrams and sort of manage the data around it in a way that feels more natural to me. There are a lot of software inventory management tools. They're a little bit overblown in my opinion, and they're geared towards being data driven, and I'm looking for something that fits a workflow that works for me, frankly. Looked at a bunch of tools. Most of them are very clunky user interfaces, and they try to be all encompassing and complete, which is good. And actually, in the workflow I'm imagining, there might even be a place to sort of feed data from something like this into something like that. But at the very beginning stages, a lot of what I try and do is just modeling. And I find a lot of people in the same boat, and they're using tools like Lucidchart, Draw.io, Visio to build pictures, and then they dump it to sort of recreate that in a spreadsheet of data. And I want to try and consolidate that. So what I built is a React app, a React spa that uses a local index DB. Uh, it's using PouchDB actually, which is a multi-master replicated database using the Couch protocol to replicate things. So theoretically, well, not theoretically, I've actually done it. I just disabled it for now. Um, this can have multiple people working on the same solution or different solutions, and they will always get an up-to-date copy of what everyone else is looking at. I'll put the URL in the link in the notes, but effectively, you really don't need to log in. Right now, I've made it mandatory. I have maybe aspirations of making this a product. For now, it's just something you can use. The data's local. It doesn't replicate anywhere, so fairly secure. Uh, Part of the reason to have a login is just to capture if people are using it to understand. And you'll note there's no terms and conditions. I don't know what sort of legal ground I'm on there, but again, you can think of this as an experiment. Uh, and I'm looking for feedback. So for me, when I'm creating a solution, at the essence, there are components that talk to each other. And right now, I'm focusing on web based things. So we're talking about synchronous RPC calls over HTTP. I think there are ways that this could morph into things with queues and topics and other paradigms. I'm not worried about that right now. So to get started, you create a new solution and you just start adding components. So we're going to say we're building a web-based chat thing. So we've got a web browser. Just go to browser. We've got an API, chat API, we'll call it. Message DB. Let's go down the Twitter path. We're going to have an SMSC, which is a way to send chat messages or text messages. And I think we'll leave it at that for now. And then I'll show why I created this, because the next step is who talks to who. What is the data flow? If you're thinking UML, it's sort of a data flow diagram. So you're going to say I'm going to go from the browser to the chat API to the message DB. Message DB is going to return something saying, hey, I stored it. Let's say we're sending a chat message. And then it's going to send something to the SMSC. And then it will tell the browser we're all good. Very simple flow. And this is pretty common, right? This is a request response, fans out a little bit to other services. The genesis of this was for a client I'm working with, they said, okay, now I need to know what connects to what, and what are the URLs, what are the protocols, what does the payload look like? Do you have any notes on this? And this is sort of where I started. So this first part, you can do in other tools. What I found is most of the tools make it either very, like, you have to type a bunch of stuff and you can't think about it as an actual flow with components, or it's just a diagramming tool and then you have to take all that data and transpose it somewhere else. I'm trying to consolidate those two things. In here, you can start to put in what the URLs hosts are, what the protocols are. Very rudimentary right now. I imagine if folks think this is useful, adding workflow approvals, something like that, even if it's tag based, similar to how Atlassian handles it, like things are not necessarily explicit, you're just tagging metadata on, something like that. And then not only do you have this sort of flow based view, but it automatically creates a nice sequence diagram for you. And the idea is all of these can be kept in sync. So now if we say from the chat API, we're also going to call, let's say, WhatsApp. We can go back to the components. We can add WhatsApp API. We can go back to the flow. This is a little wonky right now, but let's see if it works. You can just add WhatsApp and then as a step go, okay, now I'm going to also call WhatsApp, go back, and then return a response. In theory, yeah. So now everything's all synced up. It tells you the steps, what calls what, and aside from the security piece here that you can do, you can also start to think about latency, right? As folks get into microservice APIs and APIs calling APIs, a lot of times folks forget about these gaps and the latency between service calls, and it helps you rationalize it, and you don't have to worry about linking it back up. And the goal is to make it easier to sort of visually stick solutions, compose solutions, and then at the end of the day, I haven't done this yet, but this is just effectively a bunch of JSON. Being able to spit it out and process it and put it into another tool. Maybe your workflow, man, you really need Excel. Well, you can transform this into an Excel necessary for your team to generate security documents or YAML or whatever's necessary in your cloud platform to hook things together and get the access correct or the things provisioned correctly. That's the vision. I really would like any solution enterprise architects who build technical solutions take a look at this, play around with a little bit, and give me some feedback. I'm trying to decide whether I should keep going. I use it locally for me. It works for my purposes. As you can see, I sort of like played around with the idea of, well, it's not in here anymore, but I was talking about, whoa, how would I price this? Is this an actual product? And I'm looking for feedback on whether this is a, hey, let's move forward some, or yeah, neat party trick, bro. I don't give a shit. Uh, anyway, let me know in the comments. I'll post this out and see what people think. Thanks.